What's up, Prince coming to you from the Cineverse, and today I want to talk about a topic that's been on my mind all week, and it's how to build deep motivation. Now, this came into my mind because me and Will, we were reflecting on a lot of stuff that's happened in our past. We thought about how a lot of people, they just get written off. They say they'll never be anything. But the real thing that I found is not so much that people are not able to be successful, but they're just not motivated, or they don't know how to build that deep motivation. So what I'm going to talk about in this video is how you can build deep motivation by just understanding a couple of key principles. Let's talk about it. So a lot of times people talk about motivation, they talk about it in this vague type of concept that like there's some type of strategy or tips and tricks you can have in order to be motivated. Now, I remember when I first started off on business, I had to force myself to do a lot of the menial tasks that you have to do. Now, when I started off, I was doing things like programming, I was doing things like web design, I was doing all my own filming, I was doing all my design for all my presentation, portfolios, and everything. So you can imagine how much work that is. I mean, literally sometimes I was working 16, 20-hour days. As a matter of fact, one time I worked so long, I worked 72 hours straight. All I was stopping for was to get water, and I had it on my desk while I was working. And it was like, I was working so long until I started hallucinating. I walked into the living room and I saw black shit walking around. This is not stuff I can make up. But a lot of people ask me, how did I do that? How did I stay motivated to push myself that hard? And it's not a technique. It's not some type of strategy. It's not something that I can just tell you in a simple step. But I think if you watch this video and you listen to what I'm about to tell you, you can kind of understand how you can build deep motivation that'll cause you or to allow you to kind of stay motivated no matter what's going on. So a good friend of mine, he's always on the channel, Will Power. I remember when he was first starting off doing his business. He was working at Papados, and maybe he'll get mad if I tell him this, talk about this, but he was working at Papados, and a lot of people wrote him off. They said, oh, he's not gonna be able to do shit. He's not gonna be able to make anything happen. He's never gonna be successful. And I heard a lot of people say that, but I just didn't believe it because I knew what a lot of people don't know is that motivation doesn't come from the simple things that you might think. Now, what are some things that motivate people? Now, basic motivations are things like money, things like sex, things like wanting to be accepted, things like status. These things are some of the basic motivators. And I've talked about in another video, Why Your Marketing Sucks, the 15 psychological drives you can use to kind of understand people's motivations. But there's actually a deeper motivation that kind of moves people when we talk about being truly motivated. It's not a rah-rah speech. I'm not here to tell you something that's like, oh yeah, well, if you go out there, you just believe in yourself, you're gonna get motivated. Look, I wasn't motivated. I was sleeping on my mother's floor. I broke down because I was like, shit, well, how am I gonna get to the next level? Like, what am I gonna do? How do you motivate yourself from that point? No amount of tapes or videos that I'm gonna watch, no book that I'm gonna read is gonna motivate me. So what causes this level of motivation? So I looked at Will. I observed the same thing that I observed in myself. And what I realized was that the motivation that he lacked only came because he didn't have a purpose. Now, this is very simple, but I want to say it again because this is the most important. It's the most essential key when it comes to being successful. He didn't have a purpose. See, when I started off, I talked about this before, I had a dream. I had a dream that said you create the world around you, but it brought me closer to my purpose. And what was that? To challenge traditional thinking, to help people reach their full potential and live their ideal lifestyle. Now, from that place, what begins to happen is a lot of the work begins to shift. And the problem is a lot of people don't want to find this purpose, or they have this purpose in the back of their mind, they don't want to pursue it. They're so scared of what other people might think, or maybe they fall flat on their face, being broke, having to live poor, all these things. They're so scared of it that they don't pursue it. But what they don't understand is that that's where true motivation comes from. I've read so many self-development books. I've read so many classical novels and all this type of stuff that talk about this is how you motivate yourself. You have to write down goals and tasks, and all that's cool. All that's necessary to a degree. But the thing that's really gonna keep you motivated is having a purpose. What is your life's purpose? So when I went to Will, I seen that maybe he wasn't progressing like he wanted. But when I talked to him at Papados and I seen that he didn't have that passion, he didn't have that spark in his eye, all I knew was he needed a purpose. Now, I'm glad to say, and this is something you can observe right now. Will Power, he's part of the owner of a club. His company's doing really well, and it's all because he found that purpose. So when we talk about building deep motivation, the first step and the hardest step is to find your purpose. Or I would even go further to say, not that you need to find your purpose, but you need to stop being scared and just put your purpose out there. All this working 20-hour days and all this type of stuff, people talk about that, but nobody talks about where you're generating this energy from. I couldn't work, like if you take me to a construction yard right now, if you take me over to somewhere like in an office building or something like that, I can't work 20 hours. I can't do this shit. It's impossible. However, when you put me on a project that I'm passionate about, I will stay up days if I have to get it done. And that's what life is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be passionate. So when we talk about building deep motivation, you have to have factors. You have to have something, some type of purpose that motivates you deeper than the superficial layer of something like money, skills, women, or whatever it is. Because I can tell you, you'll start off strong in the beginning, but that stuff's not going to carry you long term. Deep motivation is something you're excited about, something that you get up to do, something that you want to do. And this may sound like something, yeah, it's simple, it's purpose, but I'm telling you, if you take time to find out what really motivates and what truly pushes you, then you'll understand the first thing you need to understand about building deep motivation. So I want to get a little bit more practical with motivation, because to me it's one of the biggest topics, because if you can't motivate yourself to work, to get up, to take the actions you need to, then all this stuff doesn't matter. You can learn all the strategies, but it doesn't matter. Now, I want to talk about, there's different types of motivation. I think people miss this. Most people just focus on, like I just talked about deep motivation, right? But in order to sustain deep motivation, you also have to have short-term and mid-term motivation. This is where short-term goals and mid-term goals come from. But I want you to think about it like this. Have you ever met a person, they're very smart, maybe they're very driven, but they kind of talk about these big visions, but nothing ever happens. They never do anything. And why does that happen? They can start on something, they can get you excited off the gun, but over long term, nobody cares about what they're doing. Why does this happen? It's because they don't build the different types of motivation. Look, it's easy for you to come in here and talk about some broad dream. I can say, oh, this is the dream, this is the vision, this is what I'm about to do. But it's harder for you to keep that motivation long term. So how do we do this? That's by building multiple types of motivation. So what's a short-term motivation, or what's a petty motivation? So short-term motivations are things like, I need to handle my bills, I need to pay for this thing next week, I need to make sure that the stuff in my life is straight. Petty motivations, you know what that is. That's, oh, I'm better than these motherfuckers. I'm about to run the bands up on them. All that type of stuff is the petty motivation. And they all have their place. I mean, some days I wake up and I'm like, yeah, I'm about to show them. I'm about to prove them wrong. And then some days, when I'm in a better state of consciousness, I'm not really worried about that. But all these things are necessary. Look, if you can't handle your day-to-day, if you're not worried about your day-to-day, how you're gonna live, how you're gonna eat, how you're gonna be motivated long term, you're not gonna think about those things. However, what I am saying and what I'm suggesting is that it's okay to look at the long term. But if you want to build deep motivation, you're going to have all this stuff in balance. Everybody walks around and they're saying, okay, I don't, like, you see people who, they do a lot of busy work, but they don't make a lot happen because they don't have long-term motivation. They don't have a purpose. They're just meandering around like, what do I do in my life? What do I do in my life? And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, you see these people who have these big, vast, vivid dreams, and they can paint the picture for you, but they don't take action. They can never execute because they haven't built the midterm or the short-term motivation. I always like to have things that I'm working on right now. Then I like to have things that I'm working on in the future. And then I also have the big vision, the big goals, the things that I see way down the lines that may be 5, 10, 20 years off. But one without the other is not gonna allow you to build deep motivation. Like I said before, purpose is key. If you don't have purpose in life, it doesn't matter. But I wanted to get a little bit more practical and talk about you need to have short-term motivation. And then another thing I want to talk about is values and integrity. A lot of people, they just get unmotivated because they pick something that doesn't align with their values. Look, me, I'm a naturally empathetic person. I see people and I want to help them. But if you're somebody who doesn't resonate with that and you try to pick a career or you try to do something that's in line with that, then it's not going to motivate you because it's not in line with your own values. Look, if you're somebody who likes to party a lot, like my boy Willpower, well, could you see how being a club promoter could somehow fit inside that? I mean, does it make sense a little bit? And all I'm saying is that a lot of times we're looking at motivation as this thing that you have, like you have to go get. I'm gonna watch this motivational video. I'm gonna listen to this person speak. I'm gonna get motivation. But motivation is generated within when you have values, when you have purpose. And when those values and that purpose and those short-term, mid-term, and long-term motivations align with the things you're doing in life. If these things are not in alignment, trust me, you're not gonna be motivated. You're gonna wake up and you're gonna say, well, I thought I was doing this, or you'll get a job and you'll say years later, because I've had so many friends do this. Years later, you'll come back and be like, I got that job, but it's not really what I want to do. You won't stay motivated. So those big things to remember. Just remember that you need to have not just a long-term motivation, but also the short and mid-range motivation. And also, you have to do something that's aligned with your values. Otherwise, none of this matters. I think before I wrap this up, it's very kind of appropriate to say that I was more motivated to make this video this week. I was thinking about doing another topic, but I said, you know what? I'm gonna go with what motivates me because I think this is something that needs to be talked about. All my friends, everybody around me, I see them failing in a lot of things they do. And they always ask me, how do you work so hard? How do you get up? How do you stay motivated? And I said, it's almost like it's not me staying motivated. It's because I have a deeper purpose. I have a deeper reason for existing. That's the same thing with companies. That's the same thing with everything around me. It's easy to go through criticism. It's easy to go through negativity. It's easy to go through failure when you have a deeper motivation, because it's almost as if you're looking at something outside of yourself. If this was just only about me, it would be hard for me to make these videos. What is this, week 15? Week 15? Week 15. And you know, how did I get motivated to make a show? Nobody's telling me to do this. There's nobody pulling the string. I don't have a boss. I don't have somebody saying, hey, Prince, you need to get out there. You need to take action. The only thing that motivates me is my deeper purpose. And if you're not willing to find that, if you think it's just some type of nonsense or spiritual bullshit or whatever, trust me, you're never going to be able to motivate yourself long. Now, of course, you'll be motivated. Like money's motivating. There's a lot of things that are motivating. All these things are motivation. But I'm saying, if you want to build that deep long-term motivation, the only thing that's going to do that is finding that deeper purpose and understanding that there's not just long-term motivations. It's cool to see the vision, but you're just a dreamer if all you see is the vision. The practicality comes in when you have motivations day to day. So let's say you want to make $50,000 in the next couple of months. It's a short-term motivation, but it gets you excited about what's coming in the future. But if you got some long-term vague motivation, that's not going to keep you excited day to day. And at the same time, what happens when you get that $50,000 goal? You need something that's going to push you to keep expanding yourself in the future. I used to always see people who are billionaires and stuff like that when I was young. I say, why? Why do they want more money? They just want another $1 billion. Why? And then I thought about it. Say because they're motivated by something deeper. It's not about the money for them. Just like I say, like a sports athlete or something like that. Everybody's like, I want to be the owner or whatever, right? But those people who play ball, they're passionate, they're dunking, they're living the life, right? That's what you want to be. You want to be the person who's passionate. You can still be the owner, but at the same time, are you passionate about it? Because if it's not a purpose behind it, you're going to find yourself constantly falling off the horse, constantly stopping, moving from one business endeavor to the next business endeavor, never really getting to what's truly pushing you to get to where you want to be. So with that being said, I want to leave you with that. This week's Massive Action Challenges, I want you to do some deep searching and ask yourself, what's your true purpose? What are you trying to do? What are you here to do? And then not only that, I want you to think about it like this. Ask yourself, are you not doing the thing you want to do because you're scared of maybe getting hurt, maybe being uncomfortable, maybe people criticizing you or judging? You have to dig deep. You might have to sit down in a room and think about this for days. But I can guarantee you, if you find this purpose, if you take the time to look at this, this will completely change the way you do business. This will change the way, not just do business, the way you live your life. I have seen thousands of success principles and ideologies and techniques and strategies. I could run it backward and forward. But the most effective thing I've seen to get people motivated to change their life around was finding a deeper purpose. With it, all the other stuff becomes easy. They're more open to learning. They're more open to pushing themselves. They're more open to everything they need to do to be successful. And that's what you want to do. If you can find that true purpose, if you can dig deep, if you can go through all the hardships, the failures that you have to go through to find your purpose, you will be motivated and you'll build deep motivation. So with that being said, like and subscribe for more. Leave me a comment below, something you want to talk about. Join the Massive Action Movement. Let's get out.